In a San Francisco library, federal agents did not find a kingpin's fortress. Only an open laptop and a man who turned shopping into crime. Behind that screen was Silk Road, a hidden marketplace where drugs, fake documents, and criminal services moved with the calm design of an online store. It had no warehouses, no street corners, no cash drawers, yet prosecutors tied it to more than $200 million in illegal sales. More than a decade later, its founder walked out of prison after a presidential pardon, and the argument over his empire began again. Ross Ulbricht grew up in Texas with the resume of a bright, restless young American rather than the profile of a drug lord. He studied physics, explored entrepreneurship, and absorbed libertarian ideas about markets, personal freedom, and the danger of government control. Those ideas became dangerous when they moved from campus debates into code, because Ross imagined a marketplace where almost anything could be sold. The dream sounded clean in theory, but it required three ingredients that made law enforcement nervous: anonymity, digital money, and ordinary mail. Tor offered the hidden doorway, Bitcoin offered the payment system, and the Postal Service offered the last mile into American homes. Ross named the site Silk Road, borrowing the romance of an ancient trade route for a marketplace built to dodge modern law. At first, the site barely had products, so Ross reportedly helped seed it with psychedelic mushrooms and learned the business from inside. That small beginning mattered because the platform was not simply hosting crime. It was teaching buyers that illegal commerce could feel organized. The genius was also the poison, because Silk Road made drug deals look less like danger and more like customer service. Vendors built reputations, buyers left reviews, and the forbidden economy started borrowing the habits of Amazon, eBay, and every trusted marketplace. The more familiar it felt, the more people used it, and the more Bitcoin commissions flowed back to the administrator behind the curtain. By 2011, media attention turned the secret site into a national curiosity, sending new users toward the very marketplace officials wanted contained. That publicity gave Silk Road momentum, but it also placed Ross inside a growing spotlight he could never fully control. As drugs filled the listings, darker categories and requests appeared, forcing the platform to confront the ugly edge of its own philosophy. Ross could describe himself as a neutral operator, but prosecutors saw a man knowingly building infrastructure for dangerous illegal trade. The contradiction became the heart of Silk Road: freedom for users on one side, real human harm on the other. Growth brought money, but it also brought hackers, seized packages, vendor disputes, security flaws, and the dull management problems of an illegal corporation. Ross adopted the name Dread Pirate Roberts, a mask inspired by fiction that suggested the identity could pass from one leader to another. The name protected him psychologically, but it also became a brand, making one hidden administrator look like a myth larger than himself. Bitcoin made the empire possible, then quietly preserved traces of the empire in transactions, wallets, seized devices, and financial trails. That was the irony of Silk Road, because the currency that felt invisible was not truly invisible to patient investigators. Several agencies pursued Dread Pirate Roberts, but one crucial break came from IRS investigator Gary Alford searching old public internet posts. He found early Silk Road promotions tied to the username Altoid, then followed that thread toward a personal email bearing Ross Ulbricht's name. The clue was almost embarrassingly simple: a forgotten public mistake inside a case surrounded by encryption, servers, aliases, and global fear. At the same time, the FBI had traced server activity, and administrator logins were pointing investigators toward the San Francisco area. When Ross appeared near those digital footprints, the investigation stopped looking like theory and began looking like a man with a laptop. On October 1st, 2013, agents watched him enter the Glen Park branch of the San Francisco Public Library. They needed the computer open because one closed lid could encrypt the evidence and turn years of work into a locked machine. If you follow stories where money, power, and ambition leave ruins behind, subscribe to Fortunes and Ruins for more forgotten American collapses. Undercover agents created a distraction nearby. Ross turned away for a moment, and another agent seized the laptop before he could shut it. On the screen, investigators found him logged into Silk Road's administrator account, with records that helped connect him to Dread Pirate Roberts. The marketplace went dark, headlines spread worldwide, and a hidden economy built for anonymity suddenly had a human face in custody. Then the case twisted again, because the investigation exposed corruption among federal agents who were supposed to be dismantling the empire. Former DEA agent Carl Force admitted taking Bitcoin payments connected to the case, while former Secret Service agent Sean Bridges admitted stealing digital currency. Their crimes did not absolve Ross, but they stained the investigation and gave his supporters a powerful argument about government misconduct. The most disturbing allegations involved murder-for-hire discussions, although prosecutors later acknowledged that no alleged killings were actually carried out. Ross was not convicted of murder, but those allegations still followed him into sentencing and shaped the public image of his downfall. In February 2015, a Manhattan jury convicted him on all counts, including narcotics conspiracy, money laundering conspiracy, and computer hacking conspiracy. In May 2015, Judge Catherine Forrest sentenced him to 2 life sentences plus 40 years, without the possibility of parole. Supporters saw a first-time offender punished like a cartel boss, while critics saw the architect of a marketplace that scaled drug access. That disagreement never faded, because Silk Road sat between 2 American obsessions: personal freedom and the damage caused by unchecked markets. Even after the site was gone, its money kept resurfacing through seized coins, stolen coins, auctions, court filings, and billion-dollar recoveries. In 2022, prosecutors announced a historic seizure of Bitcoin stolen from Silk Road. Years earlier by James Jong, the empire had collapsed, but its financial wreckage was still hiding in devices, addresses, and transactions from Bitcoin's early chaos. Then came the reversal that made the old case new again, when President Donald Trump granted Ross Ulbricht a full pardon in January 2025. For libertarians and many crypto believers, the pardon corrected a punishment they considered extreme, political, and wildly out of proportion. For others, it softened the memory of a marketplace that made dangerous drugs easier to buy, easier to trust, and easier to deliver. That is why Silk Road remains more than a dark web story, because it exposed a future America still argues about today. It showed how quickly technology can turn ideology into infrastructure, infrastructure into wealth, and wealth into consequences nobody can delete. The ruin left behind is not a burned factory or an empty mall, but a closed website, old court files, and seized digital coins. It is an abandoned road made of code, where a young man's idea became a fortune, a sentence, a pardon, and a warning. Keep following fortunes and ruins, because the next American empire may already be rising quietly behind a screen everyone trusts.